Carl Jackson from the Tell It Like It Is podcast. Be sure and join us every Saturday at 8 a.m. for hard-hitting opinions, great conversation, and in-depth analysis on the biggest headlines in politics, culture, breaking news, and current events. We'll break down those headlines and explain how they impact your life. You can be a part of the show conversation too. Interact with us by simply posting your comments on Facebook at Carl Jackson Radio as we stream live. You can also connect with us on Twitter after the show on @CarlJacksonShow. Also, you can follow up and read my columns at carljacksonshow.com. Remember, for your weekly dose of entertainment, information, and political education, join us every week at 8 a.m. on the Tell It Like It Is podcast. It's not just our name, it's what we do. As I say on my radio show, America is the greatest country God has ever given man, and together we'll keep it that way. The Tell It Like It Is podcast is brought to you by Emmanuel Production Group, Firm Foundation Home Inspections, Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty, and Jeff Ackler of Merit Financial Advisors. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Tell It Like It Is with Carl Jackson. I'm joined in studio.
Good morning. You forgot my name?
Yeah, I'm joined in studio with that guy over there.
Tony Matos, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Man, I need a raise.
The treatment and the abuse. And then, of course, we have the one and only J-Dog sitting behind the board.
Yes, it's a special day here at the Carl Jackson. So you know why?
Why is that?
It's Carl Jackson's birthday.
Hey, listen. Thank you. I appreciate the well wishes that may come, and even I appreciate all of you guys that are watching right now that want me dead. Listen.
What?
Well, I mean, I appreciate them watching, even the people that want me dead. Because there's been some people out there that said they want me dead. So thank you. I appreciate that. All right, listen, guys, we got a lot to get to today. We've already been having some spirited.
Wait a minute. Wait, we got to go. We can't just.
What?
Trace over that.
What?
That one. We hang out with this guy sometimes, Johnny. We probably need
sometimes.
to distance a little more social distancing.
Listen.
6 miles away, maybe.
You guys are extremely safe. I always have some invisible friends around me, okay. Smith and Wesson and stuff like that. So
I already have my dog mask on. So what more do I?
So we're good to go. Listen, Today's topic, actually what we're doing is an umbrella of topics, but we're going to start off with America is under siege. You guys have been watching it. It's been happening for a few weeks now since these protest riots, looting has begun. But what we've started to see is how America is under siege, not just in our streets and businesses being looted, but this week, in a couple of cases, we saw how America is under siege even in our court system. Earlier this week, let me read this from Real Clear Politics here. The Supreme Court, I'm going to talk about DACA, but I also want to talk about this court case in which basically the Supreme Court ruled that existing civil rights law protects LGBT workers. And you might be saying, well, Carl, as a black man, don't you want equal rights for everyone? That's a good question, and I will get to it because this isn't about equal rights. This is actually about extra rights and extra constitutional rights, and I'll explain that. But first, let me give you the summary here. So the Supreme Court ruled Monday that a landmark civil rights law protects gay, lesbian, and transgender people from discrimination in employment, and this was obviously a victory for the LGBT community. The court decided by a 6-3 vote that a key provision of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, known as Title VII, that bars job discrimination because of sex, that's going to be a very important word, because of sex, among other reasons, encompasses bias against LGBT workers. Okay, let's get into this. This is absolute nonsense in my opinion, and what the court has done is absolutely destroyed the First Amendment for several people. Obviously, people of faith. Obviously, this is going to destroy people of faith that may disagree with the homosexual lifestyle because of religious beliefs. And so this is crazy what the Supreme Court has done. Essentially what they're doing is, and this is what people have to understand, when the court makes a decision like this, first and foremost what they're doing is circumventing the will of the people, because this wasn't done in a legislative process, this was done in the courts. That's why I say America is under siege, because our Constitution, we're worried about all the people rioting and looting in the streets, and that's fine as well. But our Constitution is being eroded not just by those people, but now by justices on the court. Justices that we were told we could trust to be originalists and uphold the Constitution. Justices like John Roberts, and I was excited about Neil Gorsuch, last year, but he, honestly, it's been a disaster this week in the Supreme Court. So this decision, first off, let me ask you guys, let me go around the room. What do you guys feel, or how do you guys feel about this decision that basically makes, or you, Tony, that basically makes the LGBT community equal, if you will, to the Black civil rights movement, that basically creates an equivalency? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, honestly, wow, my seat just dropped on me here.
Hey, it's live.
It's live. So, honestly, I believe in the equal rights for everyone. I mean, I don't really believe that we should be discriminating against anyone's belief system as far as, their ability to take care of their families, their ability to work and all that. But as it's said, many times, it's a gay person can hide the fact that of their homosexuality. We can't hide the fact, our skin color. So, it's not, and not that they have to hide it. I guess what I'm saying is, it's, walking down the street, it's apparently, apparent to me that you're Black.
Yeah.
It's not apparent to me what anyone else is. And then when I find that out after the fact, then if, it could be perceived, racism of the way I treated before I perhaps even knew. Yeah. Of what you were, so. I mean,
here's the God's honest truth. Who cares? Who cares what your sexual preference is? If you're looking for a job, I really don't think that many employers care. I think the only way that comes into play is if you are looking for or searching for a job within a religious organization, and then you run into free speech rights, First Amendment rights for those people as well. But here's the issue that I have, and let me just say this: I can't stand the fact that the lesbian and gay community. I know I'm going to make some people upset here, but this is why it's called Tell It Like It Is. I can't stand the fact that they add in bisexual, transgender, and questioning. First off, if you're questioning, it means you're probably straight and not sure. If you're bisexual, it probably means the same. And then if you're transsexual or if you're a transgender, it means that you have gender dysphoria. And for transgenderism to be true, this is just common sense to me. For transgenderism to be true, then a gay and lesbian relationship isn't true. If a man can pretend like he's a woman, or a woman can pretend like she's a man, and because of their mental capacity, then if we're dealing with objective truth, then that means there's not necessarily gay or lesbian couples. But let's get beyond that. Let's go back to this issue where we're trying to make this equivalency between civil rights and civil rights of blacks and civil rights of gays. First off, and let me go back for a second, because here's where the court destroyed it. The big beef that conservatives have with John Roberts and Neil Gorsuch is this: they circumvented the people. They circumvented the Congress and the people that represent us. And what they did is they included they included in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They went back and added an amendment without an amendment process, without the Congress being involved, without the people being involved. So basically, they acted as dictators on the court. So gays may like this decision, but it is a wrong decision in the way they went about it, because what it does is it takes the power away from the people and it gives it to people on the court. So we're moving more and more towards tyranny or a monarchy or a government of elites rather than a government of the people. And that is the constitutional danger of this. Now, let me speak specifically to the blackness of this and why blacks should be offended by this. I believe that with this decision, the court created more division, Tony. Now blacks are going to have to look at this. Religious organizations are going to have to look at this, and I'll go down the litany of things that religious organizations are going to have to be careful of, even doctors, so on, etc., because this puts everyone in a bind. So I think it's going to create more contingent. But let me ask these few questions. A few things that I just started thinking of off the top of my head. So when were gay people traded in the slave trade, African slave trade?
I'm sorry?
Gay people, were they a part of the African slave trade?
Well, I mean,
the LGBTQ community, were they a part of the slave trade?
Well, we didn't call them that back then, so I don't know if any of the slaves were gay or any of the slave traders were gay.
All right, fair enough. Were gay people told to sit at the back of the bus? Do you recall a movement, LGBTQ community, being told to sit in the back of the bus in the democratic Jim Crow South? I wonder, gay people out there. I don't hate on you. I love all people. We can disagree on certain issues. I still love you, but the way the courts came down on this is just ridiculous. And I'm tired of this notion that blacks and gays are equivalent. So we went through, it's not 400 years of slavery like the liars of Black Lives Matter, but obviously we went through a history of slavery in America that didn't encompass necessarily where people were, looking at, gays or whatever, but where black African slaves, were property. Did you guys go through that? LGBT community? Did you go through that? Did you suffer that pain? Did you have to sit on the back of the bus? Did you have to drink at separate water fountains? I got to be honest with you. The more I think about this stuff, the more upset I get, because there is not an equivalency. And I'm sick and tired of blacks who jump on the bandwagon too. This wasn't even an issue in the black community until Barack Obama made it an issue in the black community. And sadly, because blacks were so happy with a black president, we were willing to accept whatever he was doing. And the guy just fundamentally transformed America. I'd like to know when the LGBT community, when they were in the South and as a people in general having dogs sicked on them by Democrat politicians. I like to see those photos. I like to see those videos. I am so sick of the people, all the black liberals, white liberals, gay activists that try to make this, that try to say this is the next civil rights movement or this. No, it's not. No, it's not. You don't have the same history that black people have in America. Shut up. This is crazy. The fact that the fact that the courts, in my opinion, spat in the face of Martin Luther King Jr., spat in the face of Rosa Parks, spat in the face of civil rights leaders that really brought an end to the serious injustices that were that blacks had to go through, and then all of a sudden said, you know what? They minimized the suffering of blacks. For all of you that hate me because I'm a black conservative, the court just minimized the suffering of blacks and said it's the equivalency of having sex with someone, that is your biological sex. It's crazy. And then they go on to say, well, the 1964 Civil Rights Act in Title VII was talking about no discrimination between men and women in the workplace, biological sex. So now it's fluid. Now it's transgenderism. Now you can claim you're a woman and just, hey, I can go in. These are some of the things that are popping up. And we'll get into DACA in a second here. But these are some of the things that we'll have to consider now because of this boneheaded decision by the Supreme Court. Forcing states and doctors to perform castrations. You don't think that's coming? You don't think that's going to come? Of course it's going to come. Of course it's going to come. This is the next stage. Doctors will have no right of conscience. It doesn't matter. Their religious beliefs, they'll have no right of conscience. Gender dysphoria, it's no longer a mental disorder. We're just going to chop off pieces of a person's body and we call that love. It's sick. It's sick. Hey, do you have
Yeah, so we do have a question that we're going to pose, and it's going to be done in our chat. So if you'd like to just kind of give us your opinion on it, the question today is.
If you, for the record, I disagree with the DACA decision, and no, I'm not racist against Latinos. Tony could tell you that.
Wait, no, it was actually affirmative action. That's how I got this position here.
Exactly right.
You needed the Latino. And,
yes, exactly right. That is true.
We do have our token white guy, though, so I think we've got it all covered.
We always,
some more.
Where?
We always try to keep a token white guy on staff.
I'm a dog, remember?
All right, another thing that the courts have to be concerned, or you have to be concerned of, women's bathrooms, locker rooms. How is that going to be legislated now? All right, if you're saying, if the court is now saying, the court, not God that created us, but if the court is now saying there's no difference between biological, scientific, that's what I'm going to call it, scientific sex and somebody that's mentally ill and believes they're a man and woman, how's that going to work on the court in locker rooms, in female sports, so on, etc. They just destroyed the First Amendment. A church that believes, hey, we love all people, but we can't condone this behavior. How is that going to work? Mm-hmm. How is that going to work? First Amendment rights are absolutely gone in one order. That's why these judges are becoming dictators. College dorms is another thing that we have to worry about. What about pedophilia, nudity? You don't think it's going to come to that in the evolving society? Mm-hmm. Listen, man, the Constitution is relevant because it deals with human nature. Plain and simple. Let's stick to the Constitution. All right. Is this all the time we have remaining in this segment?
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to go into chat shortly here. Let me touch on DACA, and I'll have to. I know everyone here is going to want to pimp slap me, but I'm going to have to just kind of carry that through the show. But here's what you have to understand about DACA. DACA was never about helping Spanish folks or helping Latino folks. DACA was about creating more slavery, in a sense. DACA was about making Latinos the new black vote. Why? Because more blacks are starting to vote Republican, and we kill our babies at such an alarming rate, upwards of 50%. Democrats have to secure the new Negro vote. So the new Negro vote is the Latino vote, because there's obviously more Latinos springing up. So what do? Children that never had to worry about being deported in the first place, Obama creates an unconstitutional law by executive order. So it isn't a law at all. And he says, listen, these people are legal now. This includes people that can just randomly claim, hey, we've been here since we're 16. So this is all a farce, and we'll continue with more of this after the chat. Going to chat now.
All right, Jacqueline says, Carl, you hit the nail on the head. Diane, she says, I am Catholic. It is against my religion, as is abortion. However, I personally don't care who you sleep with. And you got a lot of happy birthday messages from Michael, Jacqueline, Tom and Tiffany, Kathy, Dave, and Linda really means it because she typed it all in caps.
Oh, man.
I know.
Should I send out an address where checks can be sent?
Now, we have a donate button, actually, I think, on our website.
Now,
that's true.
Diane also says, she makes a remark about the best friends you can have, Carl. Tony, I think she's talking about us.
No, I think she was talking about Smith & Wesson.
Oh, yes. Those are really good friends. They stay close to me.
But do they sing you happy birthday?
Yeah, they do. I hear them.
They sing.
Yeah. They sing loudly. I love them.
Because we don't.
Anyway, I need a sponsorship actually, I won't even say the name. Hey, if you're watching, anybody out there, we need a sponsorship to keep this thing going, so let us know. All right, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and go to break, and we'll see you guys back in a couple of minutes here. Hey, Carl Jackson here. Are you searching for a real estate agent, but you don't know where to look or who you can trust? Then let me tell you about my friend, Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty. Buying or selling a home is one of the most stressful events you'll ever endure. So you need an agent like Elisa, who is consistently recognized as a top-selling listing agent at Watson Realty, to put your mind at ease by making your move as smooth as possible. Elisa Edwards' extensive experience in real estate, combined with her marketing expertise, vast knowledge of the Central Florida area, and the integrity, professionalism, and personalized service she offers every client, is just what you need to find your dream home. What are you waiting for? Call her today at 321-356-3616. Again, that number, 321-356-3616, and you can check out her website at eedwards.watsonrealtycorp.com. Again, that website, eedwards.watsonrealtycorp.com. Hey, welcome back to this edition of Tell It Like It Is with Carl Jackson. Just a lot of fun stuff going on during the break. Make sure you guys follow us. If you share us on Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio. Also, for friends that may want to listen to the broadcast, and can't view the video, maybe they're driving, check us out on Spotify. Our podcast is there. You can follow us on Twitter, and of course at Carl Jackson Show, where you can check out all of my latest columns. So please be sure and visit those places. You were going to say something.
Well, yeah, don't forget, now we're actually streaming on YouTube Live as well this morning. So we're coming up. We're coming up.
All right, coming up.
Bigger.
Thanks to Emmanuel Production Group.
Amen.
All right, guys. So listen, I didn't get enough time to talk about DACA because somebody has a big mouth. You saw how much Tony was interrupting me, so I couldn't even get to all my DACA points. J-Dog was sitting there barking in the background, so I couldn't get to all those. But we will. Just make sure you check us out Wednesday nights, Salem Radio Network, AM 950, 94.9 FM right here in Orlando. And I'll continue on that. But for the sake of time,
and I can post too. About 2 years ago, you did a little 4-minute video. I think it was about a year or two ago.
Man, that is right. All right.
When I saw this happen. So I'll post that a little later on our Facebook page.
Okay. All right. So you guys will
go to our YouTube and
get a taste of brilliance in the past. All right. I appreciate that. All right. So let's move on. Cops. There's two cases, and we'll start with the one because the one is the latest, and that is the case with Rayshard Brooks. A lot of heated discussion we were having here earlier. We'll finish it up now. Even J-Dog was nipping at my heels on this one. All right, so Rayshard Brooks was a gentleman, 27-year-old black man, pulled over, not pulled over, was actually asleep in a Wendy's drive-thru after he had been driving drunk. Now, just some history that you guys might not know, and this isn't to knock him, this is just facts, so you guys know because the media isn't sharing this. He had gone to prison before for abuse, physical abuse, and if I recall the story correctly, one was on children, all right, so his own children, and I believe a spouse too. Now, double check me on that, I could be wrong, but he had definitely gone to prison for abuse. Now, he had violated probation. He got sentenced to 7 years. He only spent 1 year in prison, and he got out, and I think within a year or two, he had already violated his parole. He ended up going back for another stint, but he didn't finish the remaining stint. Typically, if you go back, you break parole, you go back and you finish out your sentence. This didn't happen in Georgia. He went back a year, and then he got out, and honestly, within a year or two, he violated parole again, but this time they considered it something that was minuscule, and they just let him go. I'm not trying to knock him. I'm not justifying the shooting because of this, but I will say this. I do believe that the shooting is justified, but not because of the information I just shared. I'll get into why I believe the shooting was absolutely justified. So Rayshard Brooks in the drive-thru of Wendy's gets the cops come. The cops were called by someone, so the cops arrive. They talk to this man. He goes, a long rigmarole. They do everything they can, I think, to be nice to this guy. As a matter of fact, Dundee of IPG here said they were almost too nice at some point. And I totally agree. It was just like, dude, why are you taking so long? This makes no sense. And you have to keep in mind, too, the Atlanta Police Department is 60% black. All right? 60% black. So this isn't a racist, systemically racist police organization. They went out of their way to be kind to this guy. And then once he was arrested, because he had driven under the influence, of alcohol. So once he was arrested, he began to fight. And you guys saw the video. Now, based on the video and based on the law, I don't want to minimize it. I know people are suffering. Someone lost a family member. Someone lost a son, brother. But I say free Garrett Rolfe, which is the officer that shot him. Free him now. Let me ask you this question. Take away the video. Take away, it's an election season. Take away, you're not part of the red team. You're not part of the blue team. If I just came to you, Tony, if I came to you, J-Dog, and I just said, there was this case, you don't know the skin color, a guy beat up 2 cops. He stole a taser from a cop. And I like to say weapon. We like to minimize it. Oh, it's just a taser, it's just a taser. As if, all these Monday morning quarterbacks know what they would do when your adrenaline is pumping within seconds. So he stole a taser. One of the cops gets hit with the taser. That cop falls, has a concussion. The other cop chases after him. He points back the taser, shoots over the cop's head, narrowly missing the cop's head with the taser. The cop fires a couple of shots and puts him down. And by the way, the district attorney just 2 weeks prior said, hey, if someone uses a taser in Georgia law, it's considered a deadly weapon. So if I just told you that story, would you be like, man, okay, what would your reaction be if I just told you that story? Without knowing black, white, not an election season, realistically, and for those of you in the viewing audience, what do you think
I would have to side with the officer on that. If someone's aiming a taser at you, the possibility of them, what they would do, what they wouldn't do, they would do anything.
Right.
Plus, you have a firearm on you, so if they incapacitate you, gain control of your firearm, and now, can shoot you. So.
All right. So, put in that light, J-Dog. What would you think? Take away. Just pretend like we don't know the color of the people, and we're not in this season.
Sure. Just looking at the facts of the case, immediately I would side with the officer. However, I would want to know more information before I come to a final judgment.
Okay. So you guys have to know this about J-Dog. He's a little more diplomatic than I am. No, I would. No, and that's reasonable. He's absolutely right. We should know more information. The problem with watching video is we don't know all of the legalities, illegalities, and we try to put ourselves in a situation and say that we could perform this particular situation better. And here's what I would encourage everyone to do that says, I've heard some people say the dumbest things like, why didn't he just shoot him in the leg and so on, etc. So I want you to pretend like someone just beat you up, You're in fear for your life. Adrenaline is pumping. You're not going to be able to recreate that. So here's what I suggest you do. And I suggested this on my show on Wednesday night. I want you to go knock on your neighbor's door. Whoever has the scariest dog in the neighborhood that'll bite you. I want you to grab a gun, maybe a laser gun, maybe a paint gun or whatever, and just see how accurate you are. I want you to ask them to have their dog chase you when you're in extreme fear and see if you can shoot and point accurately and think straight. If you can do that, then you have a right, in my opinion, to say that this officer should have done something differently. Or if you're a cop and you've experienced such situations, then you have a right to say, hey, this cop should have done differently. I can say this. I'm an expert in criminal justice, Tony. I don't know if you know this. Did you know that, J-Dog?
You're an expert in being a criminal.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I don't know about the law
I didn't say
part.
which side of the law. I just said I'm an expert in criminal justice. But the people come to me as the expert. So since I used to be a criminal, I can tell you that it makes me laugh when I hear people say, oh, he could have done this, he could have done, even the attorneys of Rayshard Brooks' family. He could have done this, he could have done, whenever I hear people say that, I'm like, they've never been in this situation with violent crime, because you don't think clearly. You are in complete survival mode. It's so crazy because things go extremely fast, but they go extremely slow. It's almost like it is the weirdest phenomenon that you will ever feel. So, considering the fact that an assailant beat up a cop, 2 cops as a matter of fact, don't give me this taser stuff. I know people are trying to say taser, a taser is nothing. No, the person an ex-con stole a weapon from a cop after beating up a cop, fled the scene, and as the cop chases him down with the taser at first, right? If you watch the video, the cop chasing him had his taser out, and then the guy fires the taser. Well, the DA just said 2 weeks prior that a taser is a deadly weapon. So the cop shoots. And by the way, with those specific types of tasers, remember, you have tunnel vision, your adrenaline is pumping, and all you can see is you don't have, like we're watching on video, yeah, he could have done that. He should have did this right there, because you're completely calm and you're not in a situation. But when you're in the situation, it's as quick as, oh my God, you're reacting that quickly. So all you Monday morning quarterbacks, I don't even like using the term here, but I'm growing more accustomed to it. Shut up. You're not being logical. You're not being reasonable. And also, you need to keep in mind, this taser, the front of that taser is black, like a gun, with black stripes in the front. Yeah, the rest of it is yellow.
Yeah.
But look at the front of the taser. Boom. Like that, you're not looking at yellow. You're looking at a black front. If he was even able to pick that up, quite frankly.
Well, this question was posed in the chat, but it was also something that was on my mind was, I didn't hear any of this about the other officer being taken down and shot with the taser in the media at all.
Of course you didn't, because it's an election year.
So if you think, like one of my, partners got taken down, that's another thing that's on his mind. He just saw a fellow police officer fall to the ground,
right,
being tased, and now he's after this guy, not knowing what he's capable of.
Right.
Whether they patted him down, whether they knew he didn't have a weapon, as soon as they went to put the cuffs on, he turned on him and started a fight.
Yeah, it's absolute nonsense what's going on, and it's political expediency. For those of you, I think correct me if I'm wrong, please look this up, J-Dog. I think the district attorney is Paul Howard Jr., if I recall his name correctly. So this is a guy under investigation. He's trying to get reelected this year, but he's under investigation because there's been an issue with fraud and money, approximately $140,000 in money that he created some organization or something. So illegalities. He also has 2 complaints of sexual harassment within the office. So this guy is fighting for his political life, and if this thing with the money turns out to be true, he's fighting for his freedom. So what does he want to do? He wants to get on the good side of the voters, right? So that he can be reelected, so he can keep that power. And meanwhile, in this atmosphere, when you can call anybody racist and it sticks, he's just throwing this cop under the bus. It's really sad what's going on. This cop should be released today. I mean, released today. It is unreal that this guy has spent a minute in jail. Now, I can understand a cop or someone that says, he could have done this, he could have done this, that have been in that situation. But even cops that I've listened to on this, tons of them have said, even black cops. I was actually, I got to be honest with you, I've heard several black cops in interviews say, maybe I would have handled it different, but I don't know, not being in the situation. But legally, he handled that correct. I mean, it was a justifiable shooting. Well, he shot him in the back. He was a fleeing suspect that turned to shoot the cop. He was an ex-con. When he caught him, he had already beat him up, and his partner. What was he going to do? I mean, people, we need to think this stuff through in its entirety. And my fear is that we listen to the media, we look at the headlines, we see the video, and we allow leftists to frame the video the way they want to frame it, and then we just stop thinking. And it's like, no. Man, you have to pull back. You have to try to see both sides of that argument. Because it's, to me, it's just ludicrous.
I just wonder how many cops are looking for another line of work now.
Tons. So many cops are dropping. It's a great point. Tons of cops are leaving the job. Several in Atlanta have left, and many of them are just calling in sick. And this is what you're going to get. You're going to get the Ferguson effect, because who in their right mind wants to go out and protect people, and yet you're being called a racist? You're the mayor there, Lakeisha Bottoms, won't back you. The DA is crooked as all get out and just trying to get elected. Why even bother going to work? If I was a cop, I'd walk away, because there's no way I'm sitting there protecting citizens, and then the citizens turn on me, the leadership turns on me, the DA is crooked as all get out turns on me. I'm walking away. And then all you people that say you want to defund cops, okay, you got it. Because now it's going to be the wild, wild west up in Atlanta. It's absolutely crazy what's going on. I didn't even get to Derek Chauvin. I have to get to this later, because based on the information I know, oh my God, even he maybe should walk. All right, let's go to the chats here. What do we have going on chats? Anybody so upset with me?
A lot of discussion going on. Oh yeah. We'll focus on Robert. He says police are trained to shoot at center mass. Of course, that is correct.
Okay, well, hold on a sec. I don't understand the point of that. So is he saying that the cops should have?
No, he's basically agreeing that when you shoot, don't shoot at the legs, you shoot at center mass.
I got you. Great point. Okay.
Landry says the Brooks situation made it clear why we have a justice system, innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
Should make it obvious to everyone why we need the system we have in place, investigation, jury, etc.
Okay. All right.
You also asked for some information to be looked up.
20 seconds.
Yeah, Rayshard Brooks. He was charged with cruelty to children, battery on a family member, and false imprisonment. And the Atlanta DA, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, 3 women have filed sexual harassment and discrimination allegations against them, and the GBI is investigating.
We got to go to break. We'll come back after the break with more of this. We'll be back in a few. Hey guys, it's Carl Jackson here for Firm Foundation Home Inspections. If you're looking to buy a home, whether it's your first time home, your dream home, an investment property, or even commercial real estate, and you want to make sure that property is a blessing and not a curse, an asset and not a liability, so that you can purchase with confidence while saving money, then be sure to call my friends at Firm Foundation Home Inspections. The number there is 321-624-0254. Again, that number, 321-624-0254, or visit their website, orlandoshomeinspector.com. That's Orlando's, with an S, homeinspector.com. Firm Foundation offers 4-point inspections for your roof, AC, plumbing, and electrical on your older homes. And be sure to ask about their wind mitigation inspection to see if you qualify for a reduction of your monthly homeowner insurance premiums. Firm Foundation Home Inspections, ensuring your peace of mind. right, welcome back to the Tell It Like It Is podcast. Listen, here's what we've decided to do. We were having so much great chat, and I abruptly cut off J-Dog there when he was sharing some relevant information. We kind of want to go back to this cop story. We had planned to move on to some cultural issues, but you guys seem extremely interested. Actually, the conversations within the studio weren't over as well, so forgive me for that. But so we're gonna continue talking about this cop scenario. And let me just say this too, J-Dog. You let me know when you have the information pulled up, because I got them midstream and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna make you even more mad, because I now believe 2 weeks ago, and we're gonna get back to Rayshard Brooks, but 2 weeks ago, I believed that I believe. No, all right. Let me just say this. This is live. Let's just go back to what you were saying, J-Dog, and then we'll wrap that up.
Okay, we've got Barbara, who says, it's nice to say what could have happened while you're sitting in your living room with the TV on and the computer in your lap. Gregory's comment, this officer reacted using the training he had, and he asked this question, didn't I hear that the officer who was tased got charged for not responding quick enough to try and save the guy's life?
Oh, great point. Great. I actually meant to talk about that and completely forgot. You guys can see this now. Some outlets, obviously, if you go to CNN or MSNBC, you're not going to see this. But the officer, Garrett Rolfe, that shot Rayshard Brooks, returned to Rayshard Brooks and tried to offer him CPR. You can hear him on video saying, keep breathing, Mr. I believe it was, keep breathing, Mr. Brooks. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. This is a guy that's guilty of murder? Seriously? Of murder? When he fights for his life, defends his life. Keep in mind, a cop brings a gun to a fight every time. So if that cop becomes incapacitated, he can't take the chance that the criminal steals the gun. It's as simple as that. I get so frustrated with this stuff because not enough attention. We rag on the cops. We talk about systemic racism. If you guys watched the podcast last week, you know that's total bullcrap. So we talk about the cop, but we don't talk about the criminal. And we don't talk about the criminal history. And we don't talk about the upbringing of the criminal. We don't talk about the politician that has created the policy or the regulation that the cop is just out there enforcing. So the people oftentimes, like you consider Atlanta, it's all Democrat. You consider Minneapolis, going back to George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, it's all Democrat. And yet, we prosecute the cops. Now, Derek Chauvin is a case where that may be a bad cop, but I got something to say about that, because that's not as clear as we thought. It's not as clear as I thought even a couple of weeks ago. I thought Derek Chauvin should be fried for the murder I was calling it of George Floyd a couple of weeks ago. Got a little more information trickling in. The media won't tell you that, so we'll get back to that. But that's my frustration. We focus on the cops. We ignore the criminal. We ignore the policymakers. Again, the cops are the people that are just enforcing the law. Am I alone in this, guys?
No, I agree.
It's ludicrous to me. It's ludicrous to me. So I hate that Rayshard Brooks is dead. Absolutely hate it. 27-year-old man, young man. But here's what I learned growing up. And honestly, if you're being honest, black people, because I grew up with the mentality that cops are just, I'm just saying it like it is. We couldn't trust cops. Cops were crooked. Cops were racist. I grew up with that mentality. So we didn't want to mess with cops. So here's what we knew when we were on the streets. Don't fight a cop or you're going to get beat down like nobody's business. Don't pull a weapon on a cop or you're going to get shot. That was just street knowledge. That's just common sense. And now we're trying to pretend, we're trying to glorify, Rayshard Brooks. And again, I don't want to make the guy look bad, but he doesn't deserve it. You don't fight a cop. You comply. If you comply, you live to fight the right way another day. You fight through the court system. But this is where white liberals have destroyed it for blacks and how they put blacks in more danger. Because now blacks are scared. So many blacks and new generations of blacks are going to be scared that every time they come in contact with a cop, oh my God, I got to be all jittery. When what you want to do with the cop is just stay calm.
I believe the cops are going to be afraid to enforce laws.
That's
too.
a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see these vigilante DAs that are pushing stuff that might not even be able to be prosecuted, or found guilty of. So what's going to happen afterwards?
Yeah.
What's going to happen if they return a not guilty verdict in the Floyd case? What happens
Right.
afterwards if
You put the city in turmoil again.
You know,
We're gonna have riots.
We're going to have riots again.
This is, what's happening in an election year, because Democrats are totally acquiescing to the far left radical base, or their far left radical base, they are creating situations where there's going to be more chaos, more violence. If you think it's bad now, woo, wait until Trump gets reelected and wait until 2022. Every year there's going to be a story. Listen, I was reading on lawofficer.com. You should check out that website. It's pretty interesting from law enforcement point of view, but they bring out stats that even they'll present in court cases. So it's really interesting. But since George Floyd, this was as of yesterday, so the numbers I'm sure have changed. But since George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin, there's been approximately, I think, 59 or 60 police shootings. And of those 59 or 60, 47 were white people killed by cops. I guess those are your racist police. 47 of the 59 or 60 were white people killed by cops. And the other 12 or 13 were black. I think there was like one oddball Asian. Like, how the heck, Asian? How can you get up in there? Asians don't commit any crime. So it was it was like one oddball Asian in there. So the numbers are just astounding. There's no proof, there's no evidence that there's systemic racism in policing, except when you turn on the TV and they try to tell you it is, just to keep you mad. It makes me want to circle back to DACA. I won't go there because we passed it, but that's why I was saying, and I'll go into this further on my show Wednesday, but that's why I was saying what the left tries to do is keep you mad. And that's all they were doing with DACA. Now, just to tie in DACA real quick here, I know this is going to frustrate everybody, but the left tries to keep you mad. They try to keep black people mad. By the way, poll question, do you agree with SCOTUS? DACA was in place. Do you guys remember that Latinos or any immigrant that was born here was automatically considered a citizen? Barack Obama put DACA in place, so now every 2 years, Latinos that didn't have to worry about that. So they're like, oh my God, I gotta vote Democrat in order to stay in America. It's a ploy to create the new Negro vote. Let's go back to police. So now every couple of years, what you're going to see in the media, there was Tony Timpa that was killed the same way that George Floyd was, and the cops stayed on his back longer, 4 or 5 minutes longer, mocked him, laughed at him. You don't even hear about that case in the media. I just told you, since George Floyd was killed, 47 whites killed, 12 blacks, or 12 or 13 blacks. These situations are situational. They don't need to bring up the rest of these cases because they've got their George Floyd, and they've got these whack attorneys in Atlanta trying to piggyback off of that case with Rayshard Brooks. Rayshard Brooks and George Floyd, they're not the same. And speaking of George Floyd, should I go there, guys? Should I make the audience even more mad and hostile?
Go for it.
Within the next week?
It's your birthday. Go for it.
Oh, man. Okay. Exciting things I like to do on my birthday. All right. So there's some problematic issues with the George Floyd case. And you guys feel free to come at me. 2 weeks ago, I told you, I was ready for Derek Chauvin, the cop, to be fried. Would you guys
Absolutely.
recall this situation, right?
We were all there.
All right.
Yep.
So everybody, are you guys still there today?
I don't know. I haven't done any homework, so.
Okay. All right. So that's reasonable. You still there today, J Dog?
About the
About George
officer
Floyd and
Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin.
I haven't changed my mind, so.
Where were you 2 weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago when George Floyd and Derek Chauvin happened? Where were you?
Derek Chauvin's guilty.
Okay. Where was it guilty as in guilty and he needs to pay the Derek Chauvin needs to pay the ultimate price, or guilty? But I do want to see more.
I mean, of course, like I said in the first segment, it's guilty. I want to know more information, and I think he should be found guilty of the correct charge.
Okay. Fair enough.
Has it been moved to first-degree murder? Have they, or is it just second degree now?
I got to be honest with you. I don't even remember
I believe
that.
it's still second degree.
Second degree.
Okay.
Which is
Yeah,
still
that
really
is
hard to
that
prove.
is right. He upgraded from third degree and
Yeah,
went to
to
second
degree.
second degree murder, which means that the officer was contemplating murder the entire time he was on his neck. What if I told you now? This coming from a black person that wanted to see Derek Chauvin, the officer, fry a few weeks ago. What if I told you now? I've completely reversed. Completely. Uncle Tom, sell out, no, whatever. I'll make sure you see the Uncle Tom movie by Larry Elder. Here's the problem that they're having in Minneapolis, or going to have. This is why we can't trust necessarily what we watch on TV. Because this is a case with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd where we may not have saw what we thought we saw, despite the fact that we saw what we thought we saw. I know that sounds crazy, but let a brother explain. There's 3 problematic issues with the Derek Chauvin case. All right, excited delirium. I want you to remember that term, excited delirium. The neck issue was an approved technique, and then there's a piece of video missing from the body camera videos. There's a piece of video missing. So here's what you have with excited delirium. Excited delirium is a phenomenon that I've been learning about and reading more about. Basically, here's what you have to understand. George Floyd was already having trouble breathing before he was on the ground because he had COVID-19. All right, he tested positive for that. He had methamphetamines inside of his system, and he had fentanyl inside of his system. So he was already having problems breathing. If you go back to the video, you can see the cops. And this wasn't a racist issue, because remember, this was a very diverse homicide. We had a black cop, a Latino cop, a white cop, and an Asian cop. It almost sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. And so George Floyd was having problems breathing already. So the next piece of video that we see is him on the ground. Well, how did he get on the ground? How did he get there? Where is that video? The mayor has that video, and the mayor has not released that video. Why hasn't the mayor released that video? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you why. The mayor hasn't released the video because the Minneapolis Police Department, and in their training, when a suspect resists arrest, and George Floyd resisted arrest not once, but twice. And the second time forcefully resisted arrest. That's how he got on the floor, but they're not showing that video. They're not showing that video. But when they resist arrest, the police department is allowed in their training to put a put a suspect on the ground, assailant, perpetrator, whatever, and they are allowed to use the neck restraint. Not only are they allowed to use the neck restraint, but in order to avoid excited delirium means this person could wake up from unconsciousness and flip out and go into fight mode and die of a heart attack. So in order to prevent the excited delirium from happening, the Minneapolis Police Department says, keep the neck restraint until the paramedics arrive. Keep the neck restraint until the paramedics arrive. So it could be, we don't know, but it could be that Derek Chauvin, the guy that we thought was a brutal murderer, was keeping the neck restraint until the paramedics arrive. Because that's what they're trained to do, and that's what they're told to do. And if the Democrats in Minneapolis let the news get out that this was part of their training, every single one of them would be criminally and I'd imagine financially liable. So I'm just telling you guys, Be careful. Is this the end? We only have a few seconds left before we cut out? Or are we going to chat after this?
Well, we go to chat.
All right, we're going to chat now.
Okay, 3 comments. Linda says the left is good as what they do. We are all mad. Diane replies with one word. She says overcharged, and from the doghouse, that's why I think that these officers may get away or get off.
Which
guilty.
case? Richard?
She didn't mention,
Okay.
but
I
just
believe
saying
it's the
that the
case
word
in both
overcharged.
cases. Okay.
Yeah. That's probably the best way that they're going to be found not guilty, is that the DA overcharges them.
Okay.
And from Gilda, this is kind of a long one, but a good one.
Hey, Gilda.
My brother served on the LAPD for over 30 years and retired a couple years ago as deputy chief. He served honorably, and I'm so glad he is no longer an officer.
Man.
A Hispanic man who grew up in Chicago and served as a Marine. Guess what? He also played with toy guns. I wanted him to come home safely every night, just the way I want my black grandsons to come home.
Man. That's a good one, Gilda. Don't ever get me choked up at the end of the show like that, please. Por favor. But that's a good one. But cops are in danger of all races because of the lying left-wing media. Until next time, guys. Wait. Do we have more? Do we have more?
Yeah. We can't end the show like that.
All right.
Because we do have breaking news.
Okay.
This just came over. It's Carl Jackson's birthday. Wait, Monique says happy birthday and purpose day, Carl.
Hey, Monique, I love you.
And I do believe,
hey, Gilda, I love you too.
I do believe there's a surprise here at the end of the show.
No way.
That might be coming into the studio as we speak.
What? Are you serious? Wow. Unreal. Thank you. I get to blow this out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good luck. Because of COVID, none of us can
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a trick.
Man, that looks delicious. I'm assuming that's carrot cake?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Oh, you didn't pie him in the face.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys, man. That is unreal. That's unbelievable. All right. Well, thank everybody for tuning in. I'm guessing this is the end. I think I'm gonna go eat me some cake. To be honest with you, I'm a dessert.
Eat cake.
I'm a dessert freak. I'm not even gonna lie. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Tell It Like It Is. I mean, obviously, this has been some thought-provoking, some controversial topics. No, I'm not a self-loathing black. I just understand how the system works. And as bad as the George Floyd, what I thought was a murder, looked a couple of weeks ago, as we start finding more evidence that the media isn't telling you about, just remember that everything isn't what it seems, at least not the way the media portrays it. That's why you need to tune in to us every week on Tell It Like It Is right here on Facebook Live, and now streaming on YouTube Live as well, to get the latest on the news that they tried to dupe you about, or whatever, just the week prior or so, or during the week. Anyway, guys, until next week, don't grow weary doing good, and God bless every single one of you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Carl Jackson from The Carl Jackson Show on Orlando's Salem Radio Network and the Tell It Like It Is podcast. On both shows, you're going to hear my strong opinions, stats, and in-depth analysis, along with great conversation from my crew and guests. We'll tackle current events and the biggest and most relevant headlines in politics, culture, from a conservative worldview that we believe will impact and inform all Americans. By the end of each show, our viewers walk away better informed than they were the week before. You can join us in the fight to stop the ideas and policies of the radical left from advancing by becoming a sponsor. Currently, we're offering limited sponsorship opportunities for companies we believe will be a great fit for our audience. If you're interested in gaining exposure in front of our growing audience and you want the satisfaction of stopping the anti-American left in this country, then please contact me via email at carljackson@reagan.com. Again, it's carljackson@reagan, REAGAN.com, or give me a call at 407-230-8086. Again, that number, 407-230-8086.
COVID-19's impact has been undeniable. Our
our world has been turned upside down by uncertainty and fear. We struggle to find our new normal. We must hold on to hope. We have so much to gain as we look ahead. Now is the time to rebuild what was lost. In working together and supporting one another, we can move into this future stronger than ever.
The Tell It Like It Is podcast is brought to you by Emmanuel Production Group, Firm Foundation Home Inspections, Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty, and Jeff Ackler of Merritt Financial Advisors.